Yeshua waited at the well for a woman scorned and hated. He knew her shame, knew her story, and the sins that scarred her soul. Yet even so, he said, "Woman, draw me a little water. I am the one you've been waiting for. Drink of me, taste the living water, a fountain of grace that won't run dry. I am the living water."
Well, hello and welcome back to the Women at the Well podcast. My name is Sarah Beth, and this is...
McKinley Butcher.
And we are going to be going through the Parshat Shemot with you today. It is the beginning of the journey of Moses. It's like an extraordinary story that's super exciting. There's so much depth to this story,
Yeah.
and we've been learning about it all day long, and we're excited to share with you what we've learned. We don't know everything, but we know more than we did just a few years ago, and even more than we did from this morning. So we're excited to share what we do know with you about this portion. If you'll notice, my co-host is a little shorter than our normal co-host, Sierra. Sierra was needed by her children tonight, and that is her number one ministry, and we 100% support her as she's there for them. So McKinley has valiantly decided to step up and help me tonight, and she's being extra helpful just because we've had a little bug and not been feeling very well. But she's decided to rally and join us because she felt like this was not just an important thing to do, but something she enjoys doing. Our family enjoys going through the Bible together. It's one of our favorite things to do together. And so even when she's not feeling 100% and I'm not feeling 100%, there's nothing we would rather be doing with our time than exploring the Word together, and it's even better that it's with you. So the first thing we're going to do is pray. McKinley's going to pray for us, and then we're going to play the song for our podcast, and then we're going to actually read a little bit out of Psalm 119. That's a tradition here on the podcast. And then we'll head into Exodus 1. So we've moved to a new book, and we're excited to share that with you. So McKinley, you can start first with prayer.
Dear God, thank you for this day you've given us. Thank you for your Shabbat and your rest. I thank you for giving us your Torah that we can study. Or I hope that you let us express all that we've known and learned today and this week. And please just let everybody have an amazing day. Amen.
Amen. Good prayer, baby. All right, so we'll get started with the song. If you do not know, Miss Donna Hale from YOLO 2 wrote a song just for our podcast, which we think makes us legit. So we play it at the beginning of our YouTube channel videos, and then we play it just from our phones here when we're recording live. So I'm going to play that quickly.
Yeshua waited at the well for a woman scorned and hated. He knew her shame, knew her story, and the sins that scarred her soul. Yet even so, he said, "Woman, draw me a little water. I am the one you've been waiting for. Drink of me, taste the living water, a fountain of grace that won't run dry. I am the living water."
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with Psalm 119. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to actually pick up in 89 if you want to find that.
Okay.
And the reason we like to go through Psalm 119 is because we have a different perspective on the first part of the book than we used to. It used to be that I felt like the first part of the book didn't really matter to me in my life. And it was kind of like, blah, 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 here's some history and some rules that we don't have to worry about that don't apply to us anymore. Let's skip to the good part and find out what happened after Jesus, Yeshua, came. But our perspective has shifted on that, and we now view the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, to be just as important as anything else. And we think that the whole Bible, just as Paul says, is true and applicable to our lives and good for our reproof and correction in our Christian walk. And so as we're shifting perspectives, it's helpful to read Psalm 119 so that we can get into our brain how beautiful it is to walk in the law and how rich it is and how beneficial it is to our lives. So we're going to go ahead and read, just go from here to here.
Okay.
Okay.
Your word continues forever, Adonai.
A little louder, Judith.
Your word continues forever, Adonai, firmly fixed in heaven. Your faithfulness through all generations, you established the earth, and it stands. Yes, it stands today, and in keeping your rulings for all things are your servants. If your Torah had not been my delight, I would have perished in my distress. I will never forget your precepts, for with them you have made me alive. I am yours, save me, because I seek your precepts. The wicked hope to destroy me, but I focus on your instruction. I see limits of all perfection, but your mitzvah has no bounds.
Mitzvah means loss. So what do you think of what you just read? Do you think that it sounds like he's viewing the law as something like bondage or negative?
I think he's like expressing how it's like been amazing for his life.
Yeah, I agree. He's saying he delights in the Torah, which again is the first 5 books of the Bible where God's loving instruction was given. So it's not just about these rules that we have to follow that are meaningless from a mean old God. It is like these are the loving instructions from a father, just like parents give loving instructions to their children. We believe that based on everything else we've read in the Bible, that those are just sweet and loving instructions. And so we've made adjustments in our life to follow those instructions. How do you feel like your life's changed since we've made those adjustments? Do you feel like, again, we're in bondage? Do you feel like oh my goodness, we have so many more rules to follow? Or how do you feel about it?
I think it's like bringing more, first of all, it brings more clearance. Like before it's like, you didn't know even what like the meaning of sin even was, because like it's hard to know because the only thing that you can find is like believe in him, and I feel like that's it's quite easy to do, but like whenever you have your laws, like you know what he wants you to do, and also like this is like it makes you feel like peaceful. It makes you have more shalom about things. Like it helps you like even be healthier in multiple ways.
Oh, you mean like because we've switched to eating kosher, you feel
Yeah.
healthier? So McKinley has a good testimony. Well, we're saying this as we've got a cold, at least a cold. We've got some kind of bug, but McKinley, I had her at all kinds of different doctor's appointments, including Children's Hospital. She was diagnosed with chronic migraine disorder. And that was caused by lots of different factors, but what we figured out was that one of them must have been our diet, because when we switched to eating kosher from the Levitical food laws, tell them what happened to your migraines.
It was like split in half, like even less than half. I was having them instead of like once every day to like once a month, or maybe once every couple weeks.
So, and have you missed eating unclean foods, or do you think that you've enjoyed like the swaps we've made?
I do enjoy the swaps we've made because like our diet in general is way more like clean and it just makes you feel more fresh and full easier.
Mhm.
And also,
Are you thinking about the swaps like the bacon and we now eat beef bacon instead of...
yeah.
They're still just as good, I think.
Yeah, I think it's better because it's just like the taste is better. It's less oily, in my opinion.
Yeah. So there's lots of different changes that we've made. I'd say the biggest three, and going back to the law, like I think the traditional Christian walk, you shouldn't lie, you shouldn't commit adultery, you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't murder, you should honor your father and mother. But the big three that I think we've changed since we've changed our walk has been Shabbat, which we've fallen in love with that change. It's like our favorite day of the week, isn't it?
Yeah, no chores, no school, just get to lay down in bed and sleep till 1 o'clock in the morning, then do Bible study the rest of the day.
We snuggle and read the Bible all day.
Yeah.
And then eating kosher would be the second one, which we've enjoyed that change for health reasons and other reasons. And then also keeping the feasts. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
And how have you felt about that?
I think they've been way more fun than the regular feasts.
You mean the regular holidays?
Yeah, the regular holidays that we used to do. And, yeah, they're way more, like, peaceful. There's way more of them. So it's like, instead of just having, like, 2 or 3 days of the year that you gather around with family and friends, it's like multiple times every season. Yes, 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And it's all super fun, and like it all just points back to moments in history, and like moments that will come.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the feasts represent things that Yeshua, Jesus, fulfilled. He fulfilled all the spring feasts. He has not fulfilled all the fall feasts, though. So it's really interesting. With each feast, we figure out like what is to come that he has to fulfill each time.
Mm-hmm.
It's super fun to do.
Which we're soon going to be doing a video on feasts specifically, but this is just reading Psalm 119 is just more to convince people that hey, the whole Bible is important and we shouldn't ignore that first part of the Bible. It's still applicable to our lives, and also it's foreshadowing Yeshua, Jesus. So we're going to be reading about, we just got done reading about Joseph and his like whole story. Jesus was all over it. Yeshua was all over it.
Yes.
And now we're going to start reading about Moses, and Moses, oh my goodness, the whole thing is his name written all over it. And so that's one thing that we're going to try to highlight today as we're reading about Moses, is how Moses is actually foreshadowing the Messiah. And actually, before we get started, I'll go ahead and explain this with the story of Moses. I believe the story of Moses is telling the salvation story. So they start out in Egypt, and Egypt represents what?
Sin.
Sin. And all throughout the Bible, Egypt is representing sin. So when he's saying, I am the Lord your God, I pulled you out of Egypt, he's saying, I pulled you out of sin. So first of all, before they are pulled out of sin, there's the blood of the what?
The Passover lamb.
The Passover lamb. So we're talking about Passover feast, which we should still be celebrating. And so they were celebrating, the first Passover ever celebrated was this, right before the Exodus. And they put the blood of that lamb over the doorpost of their home so that what would pass over?
So that the angel of death would pass over.
Right. Okay, so the angel of death passes over their home because the blood of the lamb was on their doorpost. When did Jesus, Yeshua, when did he die?
He died on Passover. Well, he died on the Mount of Olives, and he was watching all the Passover sacrifices be made as he was dying.
Which is incredibly prophetic, right? That he died. Our Passover lamb died on Passover, which we're commanded to celebrate for all of our generations, and we've stopped celebrating it for no reason is the reason why. And we should still be celebrating it. But it's so prophetic because then his blood is put over us so that the angel of death will pass over us. And that seems to be a lot of times where the gospel story is kind of like tied up with a bow. But there's so much more to the story. So like check it out, right? They go through after the Passover, the angel of death passes over their house. They go through the what?
The Red Sea.
The parting of the sea, and that represents, I think, baptism. Like you're going through the water and coming out the other side, and all of the Egyptians, all of these like sins that were plaguing you should be what?
Should be covered by and like drowning in the water of the baptism.
Right. So that's like representing your sins being kind of like washed away, which should mean that they kind of stay in Egypt, which should mean like something about you changes as you move forward. Yeah. So then we know that they go into the wilderness, and it should take how long?
It should take like from Mount Sinai. It was like
from
days.
Egypt to the Promised Land.
Oh.
You're right. Right.
11 days.
11 days, but how long did it take?
40 years.
40 years, because they wandered around in the wilderness. And the reason that they had to stay wandering in the wilderness for so long is because on their way to the Promised Land, he stops them at Mount Sinai, where they're given what?
Where they're given the Torah and the commandments.
Yes, so they're given his Torah and his commandments. It's almost like, okay, I'm going to bring you into this land, but almost like if you're immigrating to America, you're given our laws and our customs, and it's like, hey, if you want to follow these laws and customs, welcome, and if you don't want to follow these laws and customs, then this is probably not the place that you should live, because you're just going to get yourself in trouble, because this is what we've decided are our morals and values here in America, right? Well, the same thing happened for the Promised Land. God's like, hey, I'm going to give you all of these rules and laws. I'm going to tell you what I expect for you to get into my Promised Land, and I want you to follow them. And instead of following them, what do?
They decided to not follow them and break away from the Torah.
That's right. And so then they had to wander around in the wilderness for 40 years, and then they didn't even get to go, that generation didn't even get to go to the Promised Land. Who did get to go to the Promised Land?
Joshua and Caleb, so whenever God was like super mad was when they brought the bad report, and Joshua and Caleb, they were ones who brought the good report and bringing like huge grapes like the size of a head back to the camps.
So only at the end, the generation and the people who were willing to do what he said were able to go to the Promised Land. So we believe that is a picture of the journey of the Christian walk, is that you need to come out of Egypt, go through the water, let all of those sins and that sinful Egyptian like past wash off of you and drown, so that when you come out the other side, you're without that. Then you need to journey through, get to Sinai, figure out what he's saying he wants for you to do in order to be welcomed into the Promised Land, and then you need to just start doing it, right? And all of those things are written in the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, which for some reason our generation has decided to completely toss out the window and claim is irrelevant. We do lots and lots of videos on our Women at the Well page, and on our YouTube channel and on our TikTok, which refute the idea that we need to be getting rid of the Torah, because we think that's going to just leave people in the wilderness, and we think that the way to come out of the wilderness, according to this story, is to find Sinai, find the law, and learn how to try your very best to follow it, and of course, lean on him for grace where we fall short. But we don't think the grace is in order for us to just ignore it. That doesn't line up with anything in the foreshadowing of our story, right? So we're going to begin that really, really awesome story that I just explained to you and go more in depth with it so that we can understand it even better and decide how it applies to not only our lives, but how it applies to the life of our Messiah. And it's so cool, so cool. So, the portion's called what?
Shemot.
Shemot. What does Shemot mean?
Shemot means names. It's actually a name, the Hebrew name of Exodus.
Oh, it's the Hebrew name of
Exodus.
Well, Exodus just means that they're leaving, they're exiting. So the portion is Shemot, but Shemot is the plural of names. What do you know what the singular of names is in Hebrew?
Shem.
Shem. So Shem, one name. Shemot is many names. So the portion that we're about to read, they're wanting you to pay attention to the names. This is Exodus 1:1 through 6:1. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll let you read.
Okay. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt with Yaakov. Each man came with his household. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All told, there were 70 descendants of Yaakov. Joseph was already in Egypt.
All right, I'll read the next paragraph. We'll go over the other one. So Joseph died, as did all his brothers and all the generation. The descendants of Israel were fruitful, increased abundantly, multiplied, and grew very powerful. The land became filled with them.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Now there arose a new king over Egypt. He knew nothing about Joseph, but he said to his people, "Look at the descendants of Israel, have become a people too numerous and powerful for us. Come, let us use wisdom in dealing with them. Otherwise, they'll continue to multiply, and in the event of war, they might ally themselves with our enemies, fight against us, and leave the land altogether."
Okay. So historically we know that at this time Egypt had gone to war with I think it was like the tribe of Ham, which is the brother of Shem, which is the descendant of these people. So basically they're afraid that they're going to join with the other kind of like tribes that they're related to and come against Egypt. So they're threatened by them. And honestly, like, I think that's a pattern with anti-Semitism, is often it's the complaint about the Hebrew people is that they're too successful, they're gaining too much power, and we don't like that, so let's kill them, or let's come against them. That's the common theme over and over and over. We see it again and again and again, is that people cannot stand God's chosen people because they're very fruitful and they are very powerful often. So that's an interesting fact. The other thing I found interesting here is if you look at verse 8, it says, he knew nothing about Joseph. So the Pharaoh of this time, the old Pharaoh loved Joseph because Joseph like saved them, right?
Yeah.
But the new Pharaoh knows nothing of Joseph. And who did we just say? Joseph is foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing Yeshua.
Right. So, if you replace the wording and you said, you don't know, I don't know you. Does that remind you of a verse? More applied to Yeshua or God? It reminded me of the verse in Matthew where it says, many will come to me and say, Lord, Lord.
Yeah.
Haven't I cast out demons in your name? I've prophesied in your name. And he'll say, depart from me, you
worker of Toralessness or lawlessness, I never knew you.
I never knew you. And so that's a verse that we talked about Thursday on this channel, because we were talking about why we think that God still wants us to follow the law. And that verse we learned, so if they're saying, Lord, Lord, at the end of times, they're coming to him and they're saying, Lord, Lord, I used to think these were like atheists because he's saying, I never knew you. But are they atheists?
No.
How do you know?
Because they're saying Lord, Lord. No atheists would say Lord, Lord. Christians, people of Jews, like anyone who has the religion that God is would say Lord, Lord.
Okay. And they're even saying they cast out demons in his name. They've done all these things in his name. But he's saying, depart from me because you're a worker of Toralessness or lawlessness. So we believe that there's a great deception that makes Christians think that we don't need to worry about the law anymore. And they're gonna say, Lord, Lord, I did things for you. I went to church. I did all these things, right? I tried to serve you. I went on mission trips. I did all these things. And he says, depart from me, you worker of iniquity or lawlessness, which the law is found in the Torah. I never knew you. So he's saying you have to be thinking about his laws to know him. And so that reminded me of this verse. He's saying he doesn't know Joseph. So he's going to make a lot of really bad decisions because he didn't know of the person that he should have known in order to make the right decisions. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So then we're on verse 11.
Is it my turn or your turn?
Yes, your turn.
Okay.
So they put
slave
really loud
masters.
to do.
So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built for Pharaoh the storage cities of Pithom and Ramesses. But the more Egyptians oppressed them, the more they multiplied and expanded, until the Egyptians came to dread the people of Israel, and worked them relentlessly, making their lives bitter and hard with labor, digging clay, making bricks, and all kinds of work, and in all this toil they were shown no mercy.
Okay, so we know Egypt is representing sin,
Yeah.
right? And so when they are slaving away, the bondage is sin. So what would be the opposite of bondage?
Being free, which is Torah.
Yes, being free from sin by walking in Torah. We have so many people say you don't have to live under the bondage. You don't have to keep the law. That's bondage, and it's like that's the deception, because the bondage is slavery to sin, and trying to get yourself washed of that and walking away from it and walking towards Sinai and getting the law and getting to go into the promised land. That is the journey of the opposite of bondage. So we believe that when you walk in Torah, you are walking in freedom, and that's how it's felt like since we've started, right? Like there's a sense of peace and a sense of freedom. Like for example, on Shabbat, we don't make plans. We generally go nowhere, and it's not like we're imprisoning ourselves in our home. We're breaking free of the shackles of what the world is making us think is important, and we're just spending time together and resting and spending time with God for the day. That is the most freeing thing that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Nope, can't do it, won't do it, not gonna do it. It's Shabbat, we're staying home. So it is an escape from the slavery. Now, when you're in Egypt, when you're living in sin, and you're building things, who are you building things for?
You're building things for sin.
Yes, who's in charge? Well, we know it's Pharaoh, but who's Pharaoh kind of representing in this situation?
Satan.
Yeah. So when you're living in Egypt, refusing to come out and do what you have to do to get the promised land, you're literally building the bricks for the enemy, for the king of the enemy, right?
Yeah.
Which in this case is Pharaoh, but Pharaoh's representing something like Satan.
Yeah, and there was people who were in the wilderness, who were saying like, we would have been better off in Egypt, where like they're slaves all the time. And I feel like that's people who are like, I don't have time, it's slavery to do this.
That's true.
Like,
I agree with that. So, let's look at the next part. This is so cool, guys. So it says, moreover, the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives. Okay, I'll get to this. The Hebrew midwives is either the Egyptians who were in charge of the Hebrew childbirths, or they were midwives who were Hebrew. We don't know which one. I think these are Egyptians in charge of delivering the Hebrew babies. Okay, one whom was called Shifra, and the other Puah. And as he said, when you attend the Hebrew women and see them giving birth, if it's a boy, kill him, but if it's a girl, let her live. Probably because he was more threatened by the boys than girls military-wise, and he thought the girls could just marry the Egyptians. However, the midwives were God-fearing women. So they didn't do as the king of Egypt ordered them. So when you're God-fearing women, you do not do what the king of Egypt orders you to do, which is sin. And then it says, but let the boys live. The king of Egypt summoned the midwives and demanded them, why have you done this? And let the boys live. The midwives answered Pharaoh, It's because the Hebrew women aren't like the Egyptian women. They go into labor and give birth before the midwife arrives. Therefore, God prospered the midwives, and the people continued to multiply and grow very powerfully. Indeed, because the midwives feared God, he made them founders of families. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: every boy that is born, throw them in the river, but let all the girls live. So basically, what the first ever commandment, well, there's 2 commandments in Eden. What was the first one?
In Eden, be fruitful and multiply. That's the first commandment ever.
Yes, the first commandment ever is be fruitful and multiply. All of this hogwash about how it's best to not have many children. It's like children are a curse, kind of, is hogwash, because the first ever commandment says be fruitful and multiply. And I know millions of babies are killed every year before they even get to make it into the world. And God said be fruitful and multiply. He told us to have many, many children, right?
Also, it says that blessed is the man whose quiver is full.
That's true. Children are like arrows in the quiver of a man, and blessed is the man whose quiver is full. Which, like, high five. We have 8 children in our family. So have some more kids. What was the second commandment he gave?
To not eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
So the second commandment he ever gave was what kind of a law?
It was a food law.
A food law. And the food law, being disobeyed, destroyed the whole earth. And now we think that we shouldn't worry about it. And the reason that people think that is because they're using verses like Peter with a sheet, and that's not what that means. It's talking about Gentiles. We did a whole video about this. There's only a few places where it seems to even be confusing about whether or not we should not keep the food laws. We did a whole video on why all of those reasons are all those reasons are misrepresentations. So we actually still should keep the food laws. You should check that out on our Women at the Well page. Or you can message me. I will give you my cell phone number and talk to you about it, and we can discuss it. But I highly, highly recommend you looking into that. Okay. The being fruitful and multiply thing, though, is what is being enforced here, right? The midwives are incredible. So, do you want to tell them what their names mean?
So, Shifra means beautiful, and Pua means to call out or to, like, worship.
So, what did you say that reminded you of?
It reminded me of a shofar, how, like, one of the purposes of a shofar is, like, calling out to God, especially on the new moons. And I thought it was like...
And on the feast.
And on the feast. And I thought it was like beautiful sounds, or like beautiful shofar is what I was reminded of.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that these women are now, they'll be celebrated for all of human history because they stood up to Pharaoh. We think probably they were Egyptians, but even if they were Hebrew women still, like, they stood up to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh knew their names. Like, he himself told them to kill all these babies, and they lied and didn't do it. It reminds me of the people that hid the Jewish people in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
That, like, kind of risked their neck to protect God's people. And, I'm thinking of one more person that reminds me of. Do you have one more? I'm thinking of one that starts with an R.
I don't know.
A person that risked their neck to save the Israelites. It was a girl. It was a harlot. Red scarlet rope. We named a goat after her.
I don't remember.
Rahab.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of her too, because she kind of risked her neck to help God's people.
Yeah, and her whole family survived.
Also, at this point, we're talking about Pharaoh, right? It just says Pharaoh. Which Pharaoh? It doesn't even tell us which Pharaoh. So we think probably it is, hold on, I wrote it down. Tutmos. So there's Tutmos. The first, second, and third are the slavery those three were the ones, we think the ones in charge. If you just line up the years historically, we're pretty sure that's who it would have been. But guess what? This chapter called Names, this portion of the Bible called Names, doesn't even name the Pharaoh that we're talking about. We had to look it up in historical context. But it does name these women that saved these babies. And I think that is not on accident. So I think that is really cool. Also interesting to think about, without them there would be no Torah, because Moses would not have lived, and Moses is the one that wrote down the Torah. So
Yeah.
all of human history would have changed had it not been for these women. So I think that is very, very interesting. Go ahead, you pick up in chapter 2, verse 1.
Okay. A man from the family of Levi took a woman, also a descendant of Levi, as his wife. When she conceived a son, upon seeing a fine child, he was. She hid him for 3 months.
Alright, pause. Okay. So a man and a woman from the tribe of Levi had a baby, and they hid it for 3 months. They noticed it was a fine child, and we were watching a teaching earlier today that said that they would have given him the name Tovia. His Hebrew name would have been Tovia, and that means a fine child. So that's why that is in there. Okay, go ahead.
When she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket coated with clay and tar and put the child in it and placed it among the reeds of the riverbank.
Pause. So what did that remind us of when we were studying it?
Huh?
The basket with clay and tar on it?
The ark, because she put clay and tar on the ark.
Mm-hmm. So I think that these are like kind of prophetically connected. The ark was made of wood and tar and pitch and put into the water, and it created kind of this it saved all of humankind because Noah and his family was saved.
Yeah.
And then this, in the same way, Moses was going to be the savior of his people, put into the water, and I think that's interesting. You can go on for that one more verse.
His sister stood at the distance to see what would happen to him.
Can you imagine if you had a little baby brother and it was in a basket and it put into the water and you were just having to watch it float down the river and you didn't know if it was going to be okay or not?
Yeah, you didn't know if it was leaking. You barely even knew if it was alive.
Well, and in the Nile River, there were all kinds of
sharks.
I'm not about sharks.
I mean crocodiles.
Yeah.
Egypt is one of the big places where you can you sell and ship things with ships. So there would probably be a whole bunch of ships going up and down the Nile River. We listened to Story of the World, and it's a audio thing, so we learned a lot about Egypt.
Yeah,
stuff.
I think I love when we can apply what we learn in history to what we can apply to the Bible. It's almost like the point of learning history.
Yeah.
Okay, so the daughter of Pharaoh, still we haven't named her yet, came down to bathe in the river while her maids in attendance walked along the riverside. Spotting the basket among the reeds, she sent her slave girl to get
it.
Hold on, to get it, sorry. She opened it and looked inside, and there in front of her was a crying baby boy. Moved with pity, she said, "This must be one of the Hebrew children." At this point, his sister said, Oh wait, my goodness, my dyslexia is dyslexic. At this point, his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Would you like me to go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" So, okay, first of all, it says she sent a maid, but in other translations, it could be read that she sent her forearm, and in the Proverbs 31 verse, it says she extends her hand to the poor and the needy.
Yeah.
And so if it could be translated as forearm instead of her servant, then that would fit the Proverbs 31 woman thing. So interesting to think about. But then also, so how brave of the sister to walk up to the daughter of Pharaoh, not knowing if she was gonna be killed or in trouble for talking to her. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just like one of her friends. She walked up to the daughter of Pharaoh and was like, do you want me to go find someone to nurse this baby for you? And then she went and got her mom. So the real mom actually got to nurse Moses. I think that's super cool.
And nice.
Yes. It says Pharaoh's daughter answered, yes, go. So the girl went, called the baby's own mother. So the little girl went and got her own mother and brought it back to her to nurse. Pharaoh's daughter told her, take this child away, nurse it for me, and I will pay you for doing it. So the woman took the child and nursed it. And we looked up, it was probably until he was about 3 years old. So interesting how long they nurse babies then. Then, when the child had grown some, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she began to raise him as her son. She called him Moshe, or Moses. Moses is to pull out. That's what, so because she pulled him out of the water, she named him Moses. Explaining, because I pulled him out of the water. This is so interesting. So, Egyptian, so there's a Moses in Hebrew means to pull out, or in Egyptian it would have meant son or child of a god. So likely she at this point didn't serve the god, but she named him a name that meant child of a god who she would eventually meet. So this is a fun fact. Eventually, we find out in 1 Chronicles 4:8, they're retelling the story, and when they do, they share that the daughter of Pharaoh was called Batya, which is daughter of God, and that's her Hebrew name. So whenever they would have done the Exodus, she would have been like one of the people exiting, even though she wasn't an Israelite. It says there was a mixed multitude of like 70-something nations that left with them. So it wasn't just about the Israelites exiting. It was everyone who exited got to then have a chance to become a part of the family of God. And that would have included his mother. And it said that God... she took a boy that wasn't hers and made him her son. And God says, well, you were not a daughter of mine, but now I've made you my daughter. So that's already a foreshadowing of the Gentile people, the people that were not Israelites, getting to come into the fold. It's when they gave allegiance to God and they made his people their people, his ways their ways. That's when they got to be a part of the fold, even though they weren't born Israelites. So I just think it's so cool that they named her daughter of God. Okay, let's keep going.
So, chapter 2, verse 11.
Yep.
One day Moshe was a grown man. He went out to visit his kinsmen, and he watched them struggling at forced labor. He saw an Egyptian strike a Hebrew. One of his kinsmen. He looked this way and that. When he saw that no one was around, he killed the kinsman.
Okay, so this is important. Do you want to use this to help you stay on the right line?
Yes.
Okay. So this is so important. So Moses sees some Egyptian attacking, beating a slave, which was one of his kinsmen. So what did he do? Did he lash out, or was it seemingly premeditated?
What do you mean premeditated?
Did he think about what he was going to do before he did it, or did he just lose his temper and do it?
He thought about what he was going to do.
How do you know?
Because he waited until no one was around.
Yes, he looked this way and that way. So he was making sure no one was watching before he murdered this person, which makes it seem like he thought about it. But this is the beginning. We've heard lots and lots and lots of verses over, do not look to the left or the right. Do not look to the left or the right. Do not look to the left or the right. We see this occur over and over in the Bible, and what its meaning is, keep your eyes on God. Keep your eyes on what God tells you to do. Just do what God tells you to do. If it bothers people, don't worry about it. It's like, I heard this in a sermon one time about this little boy riding a bike, and his dad was like, keep your eye on me, keep your eye on me, keep your eye on me. Because whenever you look at the ground or you look one way or the other, you fall, right? And okay, when you're helping a kid learn to ride a bike and they fall, you're not upset, but you're like, get back up, get on the bike, keep your eyes on me, keep coming straight, you got it, right? So it's kind of like that's how God feels towards us. Like, stop looking to the left or the right. Put your nose in this book, figure out what it says, do what it says, keep your eyes on him. Don't worry about what anyone else says about it. It's just treat all of it as noise, other than what he tells you to do. La 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 la, I'm going to do what he says. That's what you have to do. And so he's saying all over the place. Like, one of them was, hold on, I wrote down an example. Don't be, hold on, I can't read my own handwriting.
You have a lot of notes.
I do have a lot of notes. Okay. One of them is don't add to or take away from my commandments, Deuteronomy 4:2. Don't look to the left or the right, Deuteronomy 28. And then another one is Jeremiah 6:16, which says focus on the ancient path. So it's like there is a path that he wants us to walk on. It is an ancient path. It doesn't look like the path of the world today. It's a narrow path. It's an old path. And we know that he doesn't want us to look from the left to the left or the right. He wants us to just look at him and stay on the path. So Moses messed up here. He did. He looked to the left. He looked to the right. Decided it was okay. We know that he knows that it was bad because what did he do after he killed the guy? In 12. At the end of 12.
End of 12. He killed the Egyptian and hid his body. He killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand.
Yep, he hid his body in the sand. Now, part of me is like, go Moses, because he's taking up for his people and his people are being mistreated and he did something about it. But part of me is like, I feel like it wasn't the best way he could have handled it. Maybe he's in the royal family. Maybe he could have gone and tried to talk to people and get better treatment for them. I don't know that he would have been listened to, but like, I have mixed feelings about what he did. How do you feel about it?
I feel like he did think it was wrong, in my opinion. I keep thinking, like, why does he keep, like, looking back and, like, thinking wrong of it? Like, and, like, I don't get why, yeah, I am on this more leaning towards, like, why is everybody, like, saying that it's a bad thing whenever it's, like, he's taking up for his people. But then it's, like, also, like, he did kill a man. I feel like he lost his temper a little bit. He did think before he did, but he did lose his temper. Like,
he made the wrong choice, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I was just reading this again, and it says that he saw one of them strike one of his kinsmen. So, like, I could see it if he saw one of them try to kill one of his kinsmen, and then he killed them trying to protect him. But it doesn't sound like it was, like, a life or death situation. It sounds like he was hitting one of his kinsmen. So maybe that's why it would be considered wrong, because it's not like even self-defense, because he killed someone for hitting someone else. Yeah. So maybe that's kind of where it crossed the line. But I think what's interesting is how everyone how at least some of them responded to it. Because if I was a Hebrew and I saw that happen, I would be like, yay, go Moses, he's taking up for us. But look what happens next. You can keep reading on 13.
Okay. The next day he went out and saw 2 Hebrew men fighting with each other. To the one in wrong, he said, "Why are you hitting your companion?" He retorted, "Who appointed you ruler and judge over us? Did you intend to kill me like the way you killed the Egyptian?" Moshe became frightened. Clearly, he thought that the matters had become known. When Pharaoh heard of it, he tried to have Moshe put to death. But Moshe fled from Pharaoh in the land of Midian.
Okay, so number one, I think we should talk about this. Instead of respecting Moses for taking after them, they're like, Moses is trying to get onto them for fighting amongst each other, and they're like, what are you gonna do, kill us like you did the Egyptians? So, does it sound like they're respecting him for what he did, or does it sound like they're like kind of not appreciating the support they got from Moses on this one.
I don't think they appreciated it.
I don't think so either. And okay, it kind of reminds me of the way we treat Jesus, Yeshua. It's like, you died for us. You put your neck on the line for us. But now you're just going to try to tell us what to do, and now we have to, like, do what you say. Like, a lot of people really don't like the idea of having to be ruled over, even by Yeshua, who died for us and who said, if you love me, keep my commandments, which would mean you do what he said. And what did he say? He said to follow the laws of Moses. So I think it's an interesting perspective on that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. I'll pick up on end of 15.
Yeah.
One day, as he was sitting by the well, this is so cool. Guys, if you are just new to our podcast, we're called the Women at the Well because, well, our biggest one was because when Jesus met the Samaritan at the well and he told her he was the Messiah and she went running to tell everyone what he had told her, we want to be like that woman, and that, like, she had a really messed up life, and, like, we feel like we live very imperfect and messy and flawed lives, but when we've heard something from our Messiah and we've read it, we just want to run and go tell everyone about it. And that's kind of, and she was also not, she was a Samaritan, so she wasn't Jewish, and so we feel like we relate to her a lot. But anyways, after we decided to pick up that name, we started to recognize so many places over and over and over where interesting things happen at the well. And now here we go again with another well story. So there's what we've had. Who at the well?
Rebecca at the well.
Well,
Jacob
Rebecca at the well.
Yeah, Rebecca.
Who met who?
Who met Isaac? Who met
Eliezer.
Eliezer.
Because he was trying to find a wife for Isaac. And she watered his camels, right?
Yeah.
And then who's the next person at the well?
Jacob or Yaakov.
What happened with him?
He was going to the well, and there was a whole bunch of shepherds there, and then Rebecca came up.
Not Rebecca. Rachel.
Rachel came up, and with her flock, and like, he knew it was the daughter of Laban, and like he was in love and stuff. So he took off the lid of the well and also watered her sheep.
Yep. And now here we go again we're watering the flock, and he says that he is the living water, right? So it's foreshadowing him, watering the flock, watering the flock, watering the flock. Okay, so this says, one day he was sitting at the well. This is Moses in Midian, so he's ran away. And 7 daughters of the priest of Midian came to draw water. They had filled the troughs to water their father's sheep when the shepherds came and tried to drive them away. But Moses, got up and defended him. Then he watered their sheep. So it's just like Jacob and Rebecca, or Rachel. When they came, Ruel, their father, which their father gets called like 5 different things.
11, I think.
11? The main one is Jethro, but for some reason right now he's being called Ruel, their father. He said, "How come you're back so soon today?" They answered, "An Egyptian." So they're still calling him an Egyptian, probably because he still has his Egyptian.
Yeah. He probably fled really quickly, like, not thinking he was in his Egyptian robes. I don't know why he would stop to get changed if he was fleeing.
So an Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. More than that, he drew water for us and watered the sheep. He asked his daughters, "Where is he? Why did you leave that man there? And invite him in to have something to eat." Let's just keep going.
Okay. My turn?
Yes.
Moshe was glad to stay with the man, and he gave Moshe his daughter to Zipporah in marriage. She gave birth to a son, and they named him Gershom, foreign there. For he said, "I've been a foreigner in a foreign land."
And fun fact, what's so fun about Zipporah?
What?
Here, on our farm.
We have a goat named Sephora.
Yeah, because we think she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which you're going to find out more about in a minute. Okay, so, yep, he has a baby named Gershom because he's a foreigner there. And then...
20th Street.
Yeah. Sometime during those many years, the king of Egypt died, and people of Israel still groaned under the yoke of slavery. They cried out, and their cry for rescue from slavery came up to God. God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So God saw the people of Israel, and God acknowledged them. So that's just proof that, like, when you pray and 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 groan out and cry out to God, and he will hear you. Like, in the midst of your bondage and slavery and hardship, cry out to him. Sorry, we're both still not 100%. Also, this is the end of chapter 2. Now, in chapter 2, there's very few names, even though the portion is named names. So that's an interesting note. But I do have something here. It says, Revelation 2:17 says, we get to have a new name. So I didn't know this. Did you know that at the end, we are going to get a new name for ourselves? So, you know how Abraham, can you take a break?
Yeah. I'm very thirsty.
Good. So, you know how Abraham used to be Abram. And then God what?
Changed his name to Abraham.
Abraham. He added an H. Okay. And then Sarai gets changed to Sarah, and he adds an H. And it's supposed to be because the name of God is Yud He Vav He, so there's two H's in his name, and he was like giving them a piece of his name when they became his. And then we also know who else do we know that their name changed?
Jacob or Yaakov changed from Yaakov to Israel.
So Jacob went from heel grabber, is what Jacob means, to one who wrestles with God, which I think that's so cool. The name Israel is so cool. And then there's one more in the New Testament.
In the New Testament, where someone's name got changed, right? Oh, Peter, who used to be, we watch The Chosen all the time. Simon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we see a pattern of God changing the names of the people that really, really, really were like following him, right? And in Revelation, it says that we get a new name, like he's going to name us something else. And I think that it probably has something to do with the way that you live your life. So it's like, what is he going to call you? You know what I mean? Like, do you even get to have a new name? Well, that's one of the questions. Were you a worker of iniquity, or did you try to live for him, and then he gets to give you a new name? And when he gives you a new name, what is it going to be based on how you live your life? I think that is a cool thing to think about. So one of the things that I have noted here is we're not here to make a name for ourselves. We're here to give glory to his name. And I think that's super cool. Like the Tower of Babel, the issue that he was having with them is they were trying to make a name for themselves. And I think in life, people try to do that. We're trying to make a name for ourselves according to what the world says is giving us a name for ourselves, I guess. And that compared to what God says, like, gives his name glory and will give your name glory in the kingdom of heaven, are completely, totally different things. So you have to, you almost have to resolve in your mind, what audience are you playing for? And like one thing I always say is like, we're playing for an audience of one. We are playing for an audience of one, and he is God, and we don't care what anyone else thinks. We know that what we do on pretty much everything that we do, we know it's very different than what most people do. And maybe it's not everyone's favorite thing about us, the things that we do so differently. And we don't care, because the one that we are playing for is well pleased with what we are doing, I hope. Not that we're doing everything perfectly, but we make as many decisions as we can for him. And if that looks different than everyone else in the world, and if it looks weird to everyone else in the world, we are like, what? We're fine with it.
We don't care.
We care none about what everyone else thinks compared to what God thinks. Okay, let's move on.
Verse 1.
Oh, this is so cool.
Whose turn is it?
I think it's your turn.
Okay.
Stop every couple sentences because this is very cool.
Yeah.
You stop every verse.
Okay. Now Moshe was tending the sheep of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest
his name's
of
already changed.
Midian. It's already changed more than 2 times in the past 2 verses.
Okay, so we went. All right, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Leading the flock to the far side of the desert, he came to the mountain of God, to Horeb.
All right, pause. Okay, so Moses is tending his sheep near Horeb. Well, in Horeb, which is where what is?
Mount Sinai is.
Yes. So this is prophetic because eventually he's going to be the shepherd bringing the flock of people back to Horeb where Mount Sinai is. So it's interesting that this part of the story is starting with that. It seems to really foreshadow what's about to come.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, it's foreshadowing the Good Shepherd, which is who?
Yeshua, who
Yeah.
will be bringing us back to Mount Sinai, where we get the commandments.
And then eventually to where?
And eventually to heaven.
The Promised Land.
Yeah, Promised Land, New Kingdom.
Yeah. Okay. The angel?
The angel of Adonai appeared to him in a fire blazing from the middle of a bush. He looked up and saw, although the bush was flaming with fire, yet the bush was not being burned up. Moshe said, I'm going to go over and see this amazing sight and find out why this bush isn't burned up. When Adonai saw that he was...
Wait, pause there.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a burning bush, and the cool thing about, first of all, it's burning in the middle of nowhere, why is it even burning? And then it's not burning up, that's what he's noticing. So there's a fire blazing, and it's not consuming the bush, okay? The reason this is so significant is because, well, it's 2 reasons that I thought of, there's probably more. But the fire, what happens to his people? We have to go through.
We had to go through the Red Sea and through the
No, let's talk about the fire part. So we have to go through the fire, right?
Oh, yeah. We had to go through the fire, but we can be able to come out not looking burnt at all.
Like who?
Like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Right. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not get excused from going through the fiery furnace. They had to go through the fiery furnace. And they came out not smelling like smoke. And the reason is because God uses the fire to refine us. So it says to consider great joy when we face trials of many kinds, because persecution creates, that basically strengthens our faith.
Yeah.
To paraphrase, right? And so when God puts us through hardships, he's burning off things. Like when you go through stuff, I can say in my life, I've been through a bunch of stuff. And it's made me a lot more humble instead of prideful. You cannot look at my life and not understand how humble that I would be humbled by it, right? So I think that he humbles us. I think that he kind of chisels away at things. It's almost like he's making a sculpture, and he's every hardship is a little hammer tap where it's chiseling away to get us to look the way that we're supposed to look. And if we never go through anything, we're just going to look like a big block instead of some masterpiece. And I'm like, my goodness, Lord, you are making quite the masterpiece out of me. So I think that's interesting that just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, believers are going to have to go through the fire, but we're not going to be consumed. So it's foreshadowing that. And then also, it is the burning bush reminds me of Yeshua. Do you know why?
I don't remember.
Do you remember anything happening on a mountain with a bush in a different chapter?
in the New Testament
No.
or the Old Testament?
Old Testament. It has to do with Abraham.
Abraham and a burning bush.
Not a burning bush, just a bush.
Oh, the ram being stuck in a thicket
Yeah.
in the bush.
Yeah. So Abraham's about to have to bind Isaac and kill him, and then God says, "Don't do it," and he provides a lamb by having his horns get stuck in a bush. And we decided that the horns reminded us of the shofar, which is what gets blown when Jesus comes back, and the lamb that is now the sacrifice for us is
Representing
Yeshua. And even the bush was a thorny bush, and the thorny bush was to foreshadow what?
the nails on his.
No, not the nails.
Or the thorns, the thorn crown on his head that digged into his skin.
Mm-hmm. So all of that is like a complete foreshadowing of Yeshua, right? And then we see the bush again right here, and it goes through the fire, but it doesn't get consumed. So that's like,
Yeah.
that's foreshadowing Yeshua too. I think that is super cool. Okay, let's keep going. He looked.
Which verse? Here.
Yeah.
Found it. When Adonai saw that he had gone over to see God, called him to the middle of the bush. Moshe, Moshe. He answered, Here am I. He said, Don't come any closer. Take off your sandals off your feet, because this place is where you are standing is holy ground.
So, wait. He's calling out from the middle of the bush, and the bush is on fire. So this is something that we should take to heart. God will call out to us in the fire. Like when we're going through the fire, sometimes that's when God's going to call out to us from the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is keep in mind the feet thing that's going to come back into play later. So his feet touched holy ground. That'll come back later. Okay.
I am the God of your father, he continued, the God of Abraham, Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov. Moshe covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. And I said, I have seen how my people are being oppressed in Egypt, and hear their cry for release from their slave masters, because I know their pain. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and to bring them out of that country. To a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the place of the Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite, Perizzite, Hivite, and Jebusite. Yes, the cry of the people of Israel have come to me, and I have seen how terribly the Egyptians oppress them. Therefore, now come, and I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you can lead my people and the descendants of Israel out of Egypt.
Okay, so yes, this is a physical nation and physical trouble and physical slavery, but we know that it's also representing sin and like spiritual trouble and spiritual slavery. So if you're struggling with sin, cry out, cry out, cry out, cry out, cry out, cry out, beg God, and he will deliver you from it. The next part says, verse 11, chapter 3, verse 11. Moshe said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? Which he's extra humble at this point because he's killed someone, right?
Yeah.
And also notice he is messed up. He has done bad things, and God is still choosing him. It's not like God didn't know, and he still chose him, right? He replied, I will surely be with you. Your sign that I have sent you will be that when you have led the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. This mountain being what?
Mount Sinai.
Mount Sinai. So to God, worship accompanies his commandments, right?
Yeah.
So part of worship is doing his commandments. Your face is off the camera, baby.
Okay.
Okay. If you get sleepy, you can go inside anytime you want, because I know it's late. Okay? Moses said to God, "Look, when I appear before people of Israel and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is your name?' What am I to tell them?" God said to Moshe, "Ayeh Asher Ayeh," in Hebrew, which means, "I am what I am." And it's like, I am / will be what I am / will be. So he's basically saying, I am who I am right now and will always be. I'm the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So I think that's important too, because when he's giving all of these like loving instructions to his people, this same God wants the same things of us today as he did thousands of years ago. And then he says, and added, "Here is what to say to the people of Israel. Yeah, I am, or I will be, has sent you." And that's interesting because Jesus said in John 18:4-6, that's when they were asking who he was, and he said, "I am." And that's when they knew he was saying that he was the Son of God, and they bowed down to him. So this sign of this thing where they say "I am," that was also what Yeshua said.
Or it was "I am he."
Yeah, I am he. You're right. God said further to Moshe, "Say this to the people of Israel, Yud-He Vav-He, Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, Isaac, and the God of Yaakov, Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever." This is interesting. This is very interesting because Adonai, he's saying, my name is Adonai, my name is Yahweh, and he's saying, this is my name forever. And then what did we do?
And then we changed his name.
Then we changed his name to what?
God.
God. So his name is, he has many names, including Elohim, Yahweh, Adonai. And so those are his names, and he is the God of the universe. But there's many, like, people would say Zeus is a god. Zeus, Jupiter. Who else?
Hera, Juno, Ares, Mars,
Aphrodite,
Venus, Hermes, Mercury, Athena, Minerva, Poseidon, and Neptune.
Those are just the Greek and Roman gods, but they would call them gods, right?
Yeah.
So if they're gonna call them gods, little g, then we're not being very specific when we call our God God, when he specifically has told us that his name is Adonai, Elohim, Yahweh. So I believe when he's saying, "Don't take the name of the Lord your God in vain," I think that part of that isn't just when you say like OMG. I think part of it is when vain means it doesn't matter anymore. And so I think that we have started to make his name not matter anymore because we stopped using it. And part of it is because most translations of the Bible just say Lord or God, and they don't give the actual names of God. God uses different names to identify himself that are all very descriptive and meaningful of who he is. But you have to see it in the correct translation. So that is a study that I highly recommend anyone doing, is what are the names of God and what do they mean? And I highly recommend looking into that and starting to call him by his real name. And it's almost like the difference in saying, "Hey, you," versus McKinley.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your name is your name and you love your name, right?
Yeah.
And so it is, I think, more fitting and more of what he's saying is true when you use his real name, because he says, "This is my name forever." So then, this is how I am to be remembered generation after generation. But then we stopped.
Yeah.
Go gather the leaders of Israel together and say to them, "Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me and said, I have been paying close attention to you, and I have seen what is being done to you in Egypt." So just so you know, God sees you. Like, whatever you're going through, he sees you. Like, you're not invisible to him. And no matter what you're going through, he cares. It says, "And I have said that I will lead you up and out of misery, out of Egypt." So basically out of misery, out of sin, to the land of Canaan, Hittite, Amorite, Prezai, Hivite, and Yebusai, to a land flowing with milk and honey. So he's giving them land, in case anyone's confused about that. There's specific land that he's giving them, and say God, who created the planet, decided that there's a piece of the planet that belongs to a certain group of people, and pretty much no one has the authority to change that.
It's just like it's not even that big of a land, and that's what everybody wants is that little tiny bit of land.
Right, and since we've been reading Torah, how many times so far has he said, I'm going to give your descendants land, I'm going to give your descendants land, I'm going to give your descendants land, this is the land I'm going to give your descendants.
I'm pretty sure it's been about 1,000 times.
It's been over and over and over again. He has not been unclear. They will heed what you say. They will come, you and the leaders of Israel, before the king of Egypt, and you will tell them. Okay, are you ready? Okay. He says, this is important. Adonai, the God of Hebrews, has met with us. Now please, so he's telling them to be polite, let us go 3 days' journey into the desert so that we can sacrifice to Adonai our God. I know the king of... Okay, we'll pause right there. First of all, when they do go say this to Pharaoh, they chicken out and don't say it correctly, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But second of all, our friend Sierra, if you're watching Sierra, you can comment about this. Because this is so her. She just said this to me, and I thought this was genius, and so I told her I was going to say it to you. Okay, so God didn't say just let them go and be free. The end. He's saying let them come out of Egypt, out of sin, so that they can sacrifice to me, Adonai our God. And we know that when you pulled them out, it was when?
Before that, it was Passover.
It was Passover, when there are sacrifices given. So he's not just saying, I want to save you so that you can go do whatever you want. He's saying, I want to save you so that you can be in close relationship with me. And the way you do that is by doing the feast and doing all of the things that I've commanded you to do at Sinai. And he's already setting it up for the reason he's saving you. He's saving us so that we can worship him appropriately. That's like the point of being saved, so that we can then end up in the promised land with him. And you can like that or you can not like that, but you're not God, so you don't get to decide how it works. It's working how it works. He's telling us how it works, and he is God, so you can like it or not, and it doesn't change how it works. It's just, this is the game you're playing. You can either learn how to play it correctly or you can lose. Those are the two options. Okay, why don't you read here? I know the king of Egypt in 19.
I know that the king of Egypt will not let you leave unless he is forced to do so. But I will reach out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders, so that I will do there. After that, he will let you go. Moreover, I will make Egyptians so well dispossessed toward this people, that when you go, you will not go empty-handed. Rather, all the women will ask their neighbors and house guests for silver and gold, and jewelry and clothing, with which you will dress your sons and daughters. In this way, you will plunder the Egyptians.
Okay, so he is saying, when you leave, not only will they let your people go, but they're going to give you gold and silver and say, please leave. He's like telling Moses, this is what's going to happen. And at first I'm like, that's kind of not nice when they took the gold and silver. Like, I don't know. I almost feel like when you're a Christian, you're trained up to like never take anything for yourself away from other people. And like, it made me confused why that would be that they got the gold and silver. But number one, it was kind of reparations. Like, they've been slaves for these people forever. And so they're getting now paid back for all of the building that they've done for free. But can you think of another reason why that the gold and silver would be important to take with them?
Eventually for the tabernacle.
Yes. So God eventually asks them for some of that gold and silver back to make his own tabernacle. And I think that is fitting because often God is asking us to do things for him, and we're like, oh my goodness, that's an awful lot to ask, like giving him Shabbat or tithing or whatever. But I think it's interesting because it's like he gave us days, he gave us time, he gave us everything that we are. He gave us the breath in our lungs, he gave us every dime to our name, and then he's saying, I want you to stop working for one day. I want you to stop making money for one day. I want you to give me your time for one day. I want you to donate some of what you have back to me. And we act like that's too much. But just like right here is proving, he first provides, then he asks for some of it back. And who in the world are we to reject that?
Yeah,
you know?
he created us.
Yeah, like sometimes it's like reality check. Who are we and who is he? You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so read this next part. This is interesting.
Moshe replied, but I am certain they won't believe me and that they won't listen to what I say because they'll say, I did not appear to you. God answered him, what is in your hand? He said, a staff. A staff, he said. Throw it on the ground. And he threw it on the ground, and it turned into a snake. And Moshe recalled it from him. Then Adonai said to Moshe, put your hand out and take it by the tail. And he reached out with his hand and took hold of it, and it became a staff in his hand.
All right, pause. This is so cool. Your head's out of the camera.
Oh.
Okay. So, the first thing that happens is he has a staff. A staff is very representative of identity. So it's like who you even are is represented by your staff in this time. So the staff becomes a snake, and then it scares him, as it would anyone, and then he grabs the tail of a snake and then turns back into a staff. What does the snake represent throughout Scripture?
Satan.
Satan and kind of evilness, right? Yeah. So what do you think it could mean that he's telling Moses, I want you to grab the tail of this snake, and then it turns back into a staff?
Grabbing the tail of snake. I feel like it could also be representing of Satan being grabbed and just stopped.
Yes, I agree. So I think that the staff in its original state is us before sin. And then sin happens, and he's saying, through me, you're going to be able to grab the tail of the snake, which represents evilness and sin and Satan, and you're going to be able to have power over it. You're going to be able to go back to your perfect state by beating sin through what?
Through what?
What is it? Because of who are we able to be free of sin? Yeshua. So the snake staff could represent our original state, sinful state, through him being able to grab it by the tail and then go back towards our original state, which is what we would look like before sin. And that happens after we find the Torah. So come on, let's find the Torah. Let's do it. Everyone, let's do it. Let's find out what the next one is. There's 3 signs that he gives them.
And, he reached out with it. Okay. This is so that they will believe that Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov, has appeared to you. Furthermore, Adonai said to him, Now put your hand into your coat. He put his hand in his coat, and when he took it out, it was leprous, as white as snow. Then God said, Now put your hand back into your coat. He pulled his hand back into his coat, and when he took it out, he was healthy and as the rest of his body. If they won't believe you or your heed the evidence of the first sign, they will be convinced by the second.
Okay, pause. So he sticks his hand. So sit up here. One thing that we want to look at with these 3 signs is what do they mean? Because they're just not just magic tricks to show. How do we know they're not just magic tricks to show? Let's think ahead. Whenever he does these signs, what happens? Pharaoh's magicians are able to what?
to do the same thing.
Yes, he's the God of the universe. He can make up a trick that no one else can do. But he made these signs knowing that the Pharaoh's magicians would be able to replicate them. And it's like the whole point of these is supposed to be so that people believe you. Why would you not choose signs that they couldn't replicate, right? So they mean something in addition. I think they have to. We just talked about probably what the staff means. But what does the white hand represent? Do you have any ideas on that?
I know usually, whenever it talks about, like, as white as snow, it's talking about Zarat.
Yes,
Which
Zarat.
is because of, like...
Which is, what's the English word for that?
Leprosy.
Leprosy. So, I did not know this throughout my whole entire life. Leprosy in those days was caused by, I think it's, Gabriella, you're on here, is it evil speech? So when you're speaking in a way that is, you're using your mouth for evil, and would give you sa'arats, which is basically leprosy, and it turns your skin white. So he put his, also, I think it's interesting, so he gives them leprosy, then he ungives them leprosy. Part of me wonders if it's not because, it's already, he's like doubting God. He's like, they're not going to believe me, they're not going to come with me. He's using his mouth for negativity.
Yeah.
And I think God's trying to be like, stop it. Stop using your mouth for that, right? But also, he could have just like, bam, turned his hand white, bam, turned his hand unwhite. What do you think the significance of going into his cloak and coming back out would be?
I really don't know.
What is inside your cloak right here?
Your heart.
Your heart. So, sa'arat, or leprosy, was being caused by evil speech from your mouth. And so, he was like, even, I think God was taking it further and saying, like, there might have been evil things in his heart. And then he was kind of like healing, symbolizing a healing of that. With the hand in the cloak, come out, there's sa'arat, leprosy, hand back in, come back out, the hand is cleared. So, I think that could be part of it. And then, what also does it foreshadow, do you think, the sa'arats? The leprosy. What happens in the future that's significant pertaining to leprosy?
Well, there's the story with Yeshua and the men who got cured. The 10 men and then only the one came back and said thank you.
Yeah, so 2 for 2, these signs seem like they could have a connection to Yeshua, Jesus, right? Okay, let's see what the last one does.
Gabriella said that it was.
And it's a spiritual disease for using our tongue for evil. Yep. And, Lashon Hara. What's that one? Gabriella, will you translate Lashon Hara? While she does that, will you read the next one? We'll see if it points to Yeshua as well.
But if they aren't persuaded even by both of these signs, and they still won't listen to what you say, then take some water from the river and pour it onto the ground. The water you take from the river will turn into blood on the dry land.
Okay, so they're saying this, it's like a third one. Oh, evil tongue. Okay, that makes sense. So if you're using your tongue for evil, your tongue is evil, it's Lashon Hara. And then the skin condition that you get from it is Da'arat, which is basically leprosy. Okay. So then the water turning into blood, how could that represent Yeshua?
Well, we know that he, when he was on the cross, he, there was a lot of blood.
Yeah? Let's think about this. What was his first miracle?
Turning water into wine.
Yes. And then what does he say that wine represents?
His blood.
Yeah. So,
broken on those from the cross.
Yes. So, one more time, for the third time in a row, God could have chosen any signs, and like with a little bit of thought, you can see how each of these signs were actually foreshadowing his son.
Yeah.
And I think that is just like the coolest thing. Like that is so, there's so much depth to that. I just think that is like the coolest.
It all points to each other.
Yeah, it does.
It's like a puzzle.
It is like a puzzle. So that's one of our big things with not ignoring the Old Testament, as the Old Testament is completely pointing towards him, and then when he's talking in the New Covenant, the New Testament, or the Renewed Covenant, I actually have a Bible that bolds anytime he's quoting from the Old Testament, and pretty much everything out of his mouth is quoting from the Old Testament. So they're both like pointing towards each other, and you can understand what he's saying so much more when you understand the beginning of the book. And I'm like, why do we keep ignoring the beginning of this book? It's so cool. Okay, go for it, girl. I'm losing my partner. Are you coming back?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. Also, the blood, the river, there's a place in Revelation when he comes back. Hey, shut the door, please. Thank you. So he comes back at the end, and then the river is turning the blood again. So it's like from the beginning all the way to the end. Foreshadow. Don't look at my fingernails. So listen to me. I try to keep my nails done, but we live on a farm, and I'm busy, and I don't always keep up on my nails. So I tutor, and I was tutoring this girl, and we used tiles, like, to break apart the sounds of a word. And so I'm, like, so embarrassed because I didn't have time to redo my nails, and I had to go there, and she's, like, staring at my fingernails the whole time that we're moving these tiles around. And I told her, I was like, please ignore my fingernails. Like, I know I need to get them done. I just haven't had a chance to touch them up lately. And she goes, oh, I thought you did that on purpose. And I was like, why would I do this on purpose? And she's like, well, you live on a farm. And I just figured it was like, you like those cows. What are those cows called? And I was like, Holsteins? And she said, yeah, Holsteins, like those cows with the spots. She thought I was going for like a Holstein cow look. And they're just chipped. That's how bad my nails are. But anyways, don't look at my nails. Okay, moving on. All right. Moshe said to Adonai, oh, Adonai, I am a terrible speaker. I always have been. And I'm no better now, even after you've spoken to your servant. So he is like kind of trying to get himself out of this. My words come slowly to my tongue, and my tongue moves slowly. Adonai answered him, who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb or deaf, keen-sighted or blind? Isn't it I, Adonai? Now, therefore go, and I'll be with your mouth and teach you what to say. So this is often what happens. Like, God calls you to do something, you're like, no, I'm not the person. Like, who am I to be able to do this? And like, we always hear, like, he doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And I think this is a super good example of that. If God's calling you to do something, he's going to make you capable of doing it. At least to his liking, and that's all that matters, right? But that wasn't good enough for him. He replied, please, Lord, send someone else, anyone you want. At this, Adonai's anger blazed up against Moshe. So we see that this is something that makes God super angry. Like, when he asks you to do something, he wants you to do it. He wants you to feel like you can and you should do it, because he will make you able to do it. So like, if he's calling you to something, you should go for it. Like, I know when we first started walking Torah, I was like, I don't know if I can stop eating pork. I don't know if I can start keeping Shabbat every Saturday. And there's all these new holy days that I'm supposed to keep, and I've never even heard of most of them before, and I don't know that I know how to do it right. And eventually I got to the point where I'm like, but I'm gonna try. Like, you asked me to do it. I don't know if I can do it perfectly, but I'm going to try. And I think that's all he wants. Like, from Moses, I don't think that he was wanting Moses to just do this perfectly. I think he just wanted Moses to say, God, if you want me to do it, I'll try to do it. And I think that's what he wants of us now. And I get that making changes like this feels scary, especially when very few people in the world are doing what he instructed. But I think that you should try. And I think that he'll help you. And I think that people will help you along the way. I would be happy to if you ever wanted to just try, right? Sierra, I miss you. Come back! We are missing you so much. So we're gonna keep on rolling. If you're joining us now, we're in 4:13. Okay. So, he said, don't you have a brother? So this is the other thing. If you're gonna say no, he's going to pick someone else to do it, and they're going to get the cred for it, and that's, like, sad. Don't you have a brother, Aaron? Aaron the Levi? I know that he is a good speaker. In fact, here he is now, coming out to meet you, and he'll be happy to see you. You'll speak to him and put words in his mouth, and I'll be with you, your mouth and his, teaching you both what to do. Thus, he will be your spokesman to the people. In effect, for you, he will be a mouth, and for him, you will be like God. Now take this staff in your hand because you need it to perform the signs. And what I thought was cool about that was, like, God was saying, I'm going to put words in your mouth. And I was thinking, here, let me get you situated.
Thank you.
We're glad you're back. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. So what he's saying, he's talking about putting words in your mouth, and in that way, you'll be like God to him. And so all I could think about in that moment was, please let what comes out of my mouth be from God. Like, I just want what comes out of my mouth to be from God. And I know that I am far, far from that, but I'm trying all the time, and I'm asking for grace where I mess up, and that's plenty. But I'm trying. And I don't even know that, like, before that was my goal as much as it is now. I know Sierra and I, when we're doing the podcast, one of our big things is we are going to not cherry pick. We're going to read through the whole thing, and we're going to stay very close to the word. We're not going to read 2 verses and give you a TED talk on what they mean. We're going to stay super close to the word because we want what's out of our mouths to be like the words of God. And the more you study, the more naturally that happens, where your answer to everything is his answer to everything. I think that's so cool. So that's like a prayer I'm going to start praying, is let whatever is coming out of my mouth be your words. Verse 18. Moshe left, returned to Yitro. So here we go again. His name changed. Wait. Yeah, okay. His father-in-law, and it's funny because the thing is, the portion is called names. That is like, maybe it's the many names of Jethro. His father-in-law said to him, I beg you to let me go and return to my kinsmen in Egypt, to see if they are still alive. Jethro said to Moshe, go in peace. Adonai said to Moshe the Midian, go back to Egypt, because all the men who wanted to kill you are dead. I think that is interesting, because there are people that wanted to kill him because he had killed that guy, right? And God has perfect timing, and he goes before us. Even if it means it's going to kill people to make it okay for us to go do what he wants us to do, if he would go to that trouble to make sure that it was fine for Moses to go back, imagine if he was asking you to do something. He is going to go before you. Hopefully he's not going to kill people for you, but he will make a way for you. He's going to go ahead of you. Does that make sense? Doesn't that feel comforting to know, like, the same God that is making a way for Moses, including making it where all those people are dead that would want to kill him, and then including parting the sea for him. Yeah. That is the same God that's going to help you get through problems. Mm-hmm. Isn't that reassuring?
Yes, definitely.
So Moshe took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey. What does that remind you of?
Whenever... 2 things. Whenever, 3. It reminds me of, the one guy in Numbers of Deuteronomy who was on his camel and ended up talking to him.
I thought that was a donkey.
Yeah, a donkey.
Did you mean to say donkey?
Yeah, I
okay.
meant to say donkey.
That's an interesting story.
And then, whenever Mary was pregnant and she was on a donkey, and then whenever Jesus was on a donkey going to the Passover.
Yeah, he's going to Egypt to do the Passover, basically, the first Passover, on a donkey. And Jesus, well, first of all, was, I wonder, Gabriella or Sierra, when Mary was going to Bethlehem, that was for a feast, I think, right? Was that Passover, or what was it? Or was it trumpet, or Sukkot? If either of you comment that would be awesome. Okay, and started out for Egypt. Moses took God's staff in his hand. So interesting, it was Moses' staff, and now whose staff is it?
God's staff.
Okay, but it's the same stick, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if this was his identity, what's just happened?
It's been changed.
The identity is the same stick has changed identity. It went from being Moses' stick to God's stick. So Moses' identity went from his own identity to God being his identity. And what does that represent?
Whenever we're like Egyptians or Gentiles and we're coming to, when we're coming to, Torah. Ooh.
Okay, so we've got a couple of different things that it could have been. Someone said Sukkot. I can't see what it was. Sarah said either Passover for Sukkot. Ken said it was for the census. I wonder, Ken, could the census have been during a feast? Would that have made sense? Or do we not know? I know it was for the census. I'm wondering if the census happened during the feast. Or maybe that's just, I'm making that up in my brain. Possibly. That's a good possibility. Okay, let's keep going while they help us figure that out. Okay, so his identity, Moses' identity has become God's identity. I lost the verse.
21 now, I think. So it says Moshe took God's staff in his hand, and then it goes
Okay, yeah.
on.
Moses took God's staff in his hand. Same stick, different identity. 21. You want to go?
Sure. And I said to
Moses.
Moshe, when you get back to Egypt, make sure that you do before Pharaoh every one of the wonders I have enabled you to do. Nevertheless, I'm going to make him hard-hearted, and he will refuse to let people go. Then you are to tell Pharaoh, Adonai says, Israel is my firstborn son. I have told you to let my son go in order to worship me, but you have refused to let him go. Well, then, I will kill your firstborn son.
Yikes.
Do you want me to do the next verse? Or do you want to go?
I'll do the next one. This one's spicy, as Sierra would say. Okay, so at a lodging place on the way, Adonai met Moshe and would have killed him. Whoa. Had not Zipporah taken a flintstone and cut off the foreskin of her son, she threw it at his feet, saying, What a bloody bridegroom you are for me. But then God let Moshe be. She added, a bloody bridegroom because of the circumcision. That's interesting. Don't you think this is interesting?
Yes.
Do you have thoughts on this? Or
No.
do you want me to give my thoughts on it instead?
Yes.
Okay. I'll give my thoughts on circumcision instead. So we know that so far with the whole Abraham, because of the Abraham story, that it was a sign of the covenant to be circumcised. So because Moses was born to a Hebrew mother and she got to keep him for 3 months, I'm assuming that probably he would have been circumcised. But then he was brought up Egyptian and then he married a Midian. So I'm assuming for that reason they didn't bother with circumcising their sons. And then they were going to be going and basically representing him in Egypt. And I think God was mad because he's like, you haven't even done the sign of the covenant with your sons and you're going to go try to represent me. And so he was really mad. It makes me think that he must have, I would almost think that he would have maybe said beforehand, there's some reason I feel like Moses should have known that he should have done this and just didn't do it. I don't know. But then Zipporah circumcised her sons with a flint rock, which that does not sound fun, does it?
No.
But then it says she threw it at his feet, and I thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah.
Do you find that odd?
Yeah, it reminds me of the Boaz and Ruth story. Whenever Ruth was at his feet. That's the first one that comes to mind whenever I hear it.
That is a good one. I didn't even think of that one. Well, what I was thinking about was I found a teaching on it because I couldn't figure out what it meant. And they were thinking that it was because his feet had been on holy ground.
Uh-huh.
Remember, he took off his sandals, his feet had been on
Yeah.
holy ground, and so she threw it at his feet. And basically, like, it's almost like her saying, we are all in. Like, I surrender. Whatever idols I had from being a Midianite, I'm done with it. I'm done with holding on to the customs of my people. I'm ready to be your people. And I know that you're holy, and I want to be in covenant with you.
Yeah.
That is the best I have for this one. If anyone else has other ideas, please comment below on your opinion on what this very interesting account of circumcision might mean. But I really think that is what it means. He wants us to be all in. It seems like at this point she's going to be all in with him. What is interesting is, in the movie, she keeps going with him into Egypt. But here, I think she might be correct me if I'm wrong, someone, she might be going back. Because I know when Moses leaves, he meets back up with her. So it makes me think that at some point she's like, I'm not going, and she stays with her kids. And then Moses goes to do what he has to do, and then when he comes back, he meets back up with her. Alternatively, maybe she did go with him, but then maybe she went back early, and then he meets back up with her. I'm not sure. If you know, please comment below. Okay. 27.
27.
Yeah.
I forgot to mark my spot.
You okay? You don't need to read?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And I said to Aaron, go to the desert to meet Moshe. When he went and met him at the mountain of God and kissed him. Moshe told him everything Adonai had said and sending him, including all the signs he had ordered him to perform. Then Moshe and Aaron went and gathered all the leaders of people of Israel. Aaron said everything Adonai had told Moshe, who often performed the signs for the people to see. The people believed when they heard that Adonai remembered the people of Israel and seen how they oppressed and bowed their heads to worship.
Can you imagine being in slavery for all that time and finally someone shows up and they're like, God sees you?
I'd believe them and I would go on their side.
So what do you have to say to people that wonder if God's with them?
Well, God's always watching everything. And he says, like, my Bible, the front of it says, God will go before you, walk beside you, stand behind you, I'm always with you. Matthew 28:20.
So maybe you're not, like, dealing with the kind of oppression they were dealing with, but you feel like you're dealing with a different kind of oppression or a different type of, like, hopelessness. You should know, like, we'll be Moses right now, and we'll say, like, God sees you and God hears you, and God's going to rescue you, and he's going to do that through his son. So we kind of get to be like Moses.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. After that, Moses went to Aaron and came and said to Pharaoh. So it doesn't list Pharaoh's name, but Mark Biltz, who is a teacher we watched, says this is Hormab.
It's, I think, Paramaha.
Okay.
Or something like that.
I don't speak Egyptian fluently, so I don't know.
Neither do I. I barely know any Egyptian.
And he says, here is what Adonai, the God of Israel, so not the Hebrews, he's changed up for Israel for some reason, says, let my people go so that they can celebrate a festival in the desert to honor me. So for some reason, he switched it from let my people go so the Hebrew people go so they can come and make a sacrifice to to our God. Maybe because he thought it was going to be offensive to Pharaoh and Pharaoh's gods. I don't know, but he tamed it down when he said it to him.
That is not obedient of him to do.
Right. But Pharaoh replied, who is Adonai that I should obey when he says to let Israel go? I don't know Adonai, and I also won't let Israel go. They said, so then they had another chance and they did better. They said, "Go, the God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the desert so that we can sacrifice to Adonai our God." So they redid it and they said it pretty much right, but then they added to it and said, "Otherwise he may strike us with a plague or with a sword." Is that what he had said?
No.
He didn't even say that. So they kind of added to it. And so that is something that's not good. God says don't add to or take away from my word. And so,
which is basically what they did.
Right.
Folks.
Right. But then, but what's interesting is we see Moses growing as a person, but he's not like he's still a flawed person. Like we still see him making like mistakes here or there, even as he's like wrestling with God and trying to become more and more like what he wants him to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually encouraging because I know that like I mess up and stumble all the time, and it's just like I'm glad God continues to put up with me and continues to use me even though I continuously stumble and mess up. So I think that's interesting. Also, oh, we already said it. Okay, we'll keep going. The king of Egypt answered them, "Moses and Aaron, what do you mean by taking the people away from their work? Get back to your labor. Look," Pharaoh added, "the population of the land has grown, yet they are trying to have them stop working." So he is not very happy about this proposition. You can go on number 6.
Okay. The same day, Pharaoh ordered the slave masters and foremen, you are no longer to provide straw for the bricks the people are making. You are to, as you did before, let them go longer to provide straw upon and gather straw for themselves. But you will require them to produce the same quality of bricks as before. Don't reduce it because they are lazing around. This is why they're crying. Let us go and sacrifice to our God. Give these people harder work to do so that they will keep them too busy to pay attention to all the speeches and lies.
Okay, so I think that this is representing, so we already outlined that Egypt is representing sin. And then there's like the spiritual, like it says that our powers are not against flesh and blood, but of principalities, rulers and principalities. Basically, it's saying that like our enemy isn't flesh and blood. It's like the spiritual powers of the world. That is paraphrasing, but that's what the gist of what I'm trying to say is. So yes, this physically happened. But it's also very prophetic, and we've talked about Egypt equals sin. So the problem is when there's oppression and sin and slavery, and someone comes and tries to pull the people out of that, the enemy is gonna double down and work overtime trying to make those people look like they are the enemy. And that's what's happening here. Pharaoh is trying to manipulate the people by giving them extra work thanks to Aaron and Moses. He's trying to manipulate them into not liking Aaron and Moses because he knows Aaron and Moses are trying to help come and set them free. And so I think that happens a lot. Like when people come and try to help you get set free, spiritually there'll be like a doubling down, and there'll be an effort to make those people look like the bad guys. I see that again and again and again. Well, even now, today, right? Because it says in the last days, bad will be good and good will be bad. And anyone that comes out speaking for what God says is labeled as being like hard-nosed or unforgiving or legalistic or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's similar to what we see here. Do you want to read starting in 10 again?
Sure. The people's slave masters went out, and their foremen too. They said to the people, "Here is what Pharaoh says. I will no longer give you straw. You go yourselves and get straw wherever you can find it, but your output is not to be reduced." So the people were dispersed through all the land of Egypt, gathering stubble for straw. The slave masters kept pressing them. Keep working. Make your daily quota, just as when straw was provided. Dispersing the foremen of the people of Israel, who Pharaoh's slave masters had appointed to be over them, were flogged and asked, "Why haven't you fulfilled your quota of bricks yesterday and today? As you did formerly."
So this is gaslighting at its finest, when they literally did everything they could to make it impossible for them to be successful, and then they're like, "Why are you not being successful?" That's not nice, is it?
It's not nice at all. Also, maybe Pharaoh should come do it if he thinks they're so lazy.
That's true. Then the foreman of the people of Israel came and complained to Pharaoh, "Why are you treating your servants this way? No straw is given for your servants, yet they keep telling us to make bricks. And now your servants are being flogged, but the fault lies with your own people." "Lazy," he retorted. "You're just lazy. That's why you say, 'Let us go, sacrifice to Adonai.'" So they're wanting to be done. They're wanting to go sacrifice to Adonai, and he's saying it's because they're lazy. So he's kind of assigning motive that's not right and not fair to make them feel bad about wanting to go and do the right thing. And I think that is something that happens a lot when people are wanting to go and do the right thing. People assign unfair motives to them. Like, for example, if we want to keep Shabbat, people say that we're being legalistic or trying to earn our salvation. Like, that's an unfair motive to assign to people that are just trying to do what we're told to do, if that makes sense. So he's basically saying the only reason they want to go sacrifice to their God is because they're lazy. Get going now and get back to work. No straw will be given to you, and you will still deliver the full amount of bricks. Then they said, "You are not to reduce your daily production quota of bricks." The foremen of the people of Israel could see that they were in deep trouble. As they were leaving Pharaoh, they encountered Moses and Aaron standing by the road, and they said to them, "May Adonai look at you and judge accordingly, because you have made us utterly abhorrent in the view of Pharaoh and his servants, and you have put a sword in their hands to kill us." So they're really upset with Moses and Aaron right now. Even though Moses and Aaron are there to save them and are there to do the right thing. So just so that you know, if people are upset with the way that you're doing something, it does not mean that you're necessarily doing something wrong. It just means they're misunderstanding what you're doing. And this is a good example of that. You can read starting at 22.
Moshe returned to Adonai and said, "Adonai, why have you treated this people so terribly? What has been the value of sending me? For ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has dealt terribly with his people, and you haven't rescued your people at all." And I said to Moshe, "Now you will see that I am doing to Pharaoh with a mighty hand. He will send them off with a force, and he will drive them from land."
So the people were getting antsy, and then even Moses got kind of antsy because he didn't see God doing what he wanted fast enough. Do you think that's something that can be relatable for people in today's world?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Like, can you repeat the question again?
Yes. So, okay, God sends Moses and Aaron, and he says, "I'm going to rescue the people." But before that happens, right now, things are just getting worse before they get better. And so the people are like, "What are you even doing? I thought you were here to save us." And they were getting all anxious because it seemed like they were doubting if God was going to do what he said he was going to do. So do you think sometimes in real life, people are facing hardships and it makes them stop trusting God because he hasn't fixed it yet?
Yes. I do think that people will just stop believing even though like people, even though God's just waiting for the right moment. It's always like, it's not always about, oh, God's waiting just to test you or like just to see how patient you are. It's also like it has to be the right moment too.
Mm-hmm. He's getting it all set up.
Yeah.
So that it can happen the way that he wants it to. And sometimes we just have to like hold on for a second and be patient and not assume that God's abandoned us because it hasn't happened exactly the way that we want it to or we thought it would right away. So that is the end of this portion. We will be picking up next Saturday, and Sierra will be back with us hopefully by then, and we'll pick up chapter 6, verse 2. And I'm trying to think of any other like things we need to talk about. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on TikTok. We're going to be doing more short form videos on TikTok. Also, with the Zipporah thing, I forgot to mention this in the moment, but I did not forget all the way. So with the Zipporah thing and the circumcision, Miss Sierra has a really timely, that's okay. She has a very, very timely message about the Zipporah thing. And we're going to be putting it on TikTok tomorrow, and then we're going to download that to our Facebook page. So please don't miss that. It is just like incredibly timely, we'll say that. And I cannot wait to hear her testimony on that. And so definitely check out our TikTok page. And if you don't have TikTok, we are going to begin downloading all of our videos, including the Zipporah circumcision thing, tomorrow. And I think that's it. Come join us next Saturday. Check us out on TikTok. Follow us on Facebook if you have not already. We're going to be doing another giveaway. We just did our giveaway for 200 followers. I'm going to do another giveaway at 300 followers. And so be watching for the rules and the prizes for that. I want to thank Miss McKinley for joining us and giving us her commentary. I feel like you did a wonderful job. I'm super proud of you. And you're a big blessing to Mommy. I love you so much.
I love you, Mommy.
And I think that's it. So before we leave, I will pray. And then usually we do the blessing at the end. So will you do that?
Uh-huh.
English and Hebrew?
Okay.
Okay. So I'll do the regular prayer, then you do the blessing, okay?
Okay.
All right. Lord, I just want to thank you so much for bringing us together. Lord, I just want to pray for our family members who are not feeling the best, and even for us, we're not feeling the best right now either. I do thank you that you've given us the strength to come together today, me and McKinley, to read your word. There's nothing we would rather be doing, even when and especially when we're not feeling well. But please heal our bodies and heal the bodies of everyone in our family. Please be with Sierra and her family as she's caring for them. And be with everyone who's listening. Lord, whatever they're going through, whatever form of maybe oppression they're going through, even like the sinful oppression, or maybe the oppression of other people upon them, Lord, I hope that you'll meet them where they're at and help them know that you hear their cries and that you're going to help them break free from that. Again, whether it is a sinful oppression or just the oppression or bad treatment from other people. God, I pray that you meet them where they are, hear their cries, and help them on an exodus, Lord. But even more than that, God, I pray that you meet people in their Egypts and help them go through the Red Sea, help them find your law and your Torah, and help them into the promised land, God, which I think is just the most beautiful salvation message ever. Lord, I pray that you strengthen their desire to read your word. I pray that you open their eyes and their ears so that they can rightly divide your word. And I pray that they know that if they have questions, there's people that are here that are eager to be supportive. And Lord, I pray that you just forgive us of all of our sins and help us walk forward and let your word be our word from our mouths. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Yevrekaka arle bishmeka yaranai pavakanapi saranai pavalaka visakashon. And I bless you, keep you, and I make his face shine upon you, and I lift his cause toward you and grant you shalom.
Amen. All right, well, shalom, shalom.
I am the one you've been waiting for. Drink of me, taste the living water, a fountain of grace that won't run dry. I am the living water.
Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, immersing them and teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. Matthew 28:19 through 20. Like, share, subscribe. Shalom.